March 7th, 1928, Elizabeth said, "I saw a man tonight, and I saw him years ago. I know I have seen the man's face in life. He was a big make of man, a fine-looking man. He was a preacher. He was with Flammarion. I don't know what he said." March 8, 1928, "I got that old man again. I've seen him before, but I can't place him. He was speaking to me, but I don't know what he said." During sleep, Elizabeth had been heard muttering, Spurgeon. She then spoke clearly, "Go on with your good work." Stead spoke to me, but I don't know what he said. Elizabeth at trance onset said, "Livy talked to me." "All right, Livy, you talk to us." "Queen Victoria. All good wishes. Freedom of the City of London. Invitation to public dinner, 1852. I saw old Queen Victoria. She was talking to Livy. In a big city. I saw him at a dinner. The table was long and well filled. I saw a buffet and a bunch of decanters. I left. A lot were there eating. It must have been public. All kinds of women there. It was the first time I saw him well dressed. A little girl again. She has flowers, white and kind of drooping. She is at Lou's knee. Lou was a Mrs. Campbell, a sitter. She is about the height of the table. She's hanging her head as if she was looking at the flowers. Stead is here. An old man here. Good work. Go on. I see Spotty. I see someone in front of Lou, a big person, an old woman, kind of a long face, good-sized nose, cap, curls, dark eyes. She has something to do with Lou. She is very old. Has a tight bodice, high neck, lots of buttons. Gives the name McFarlane. An old man beside her, awful white, whiskers and beard and all. A good big forehead. He did not stay long. She was talking something about someone here not knowing her. When the Elizabeth scripts were examined later, Stead's read as follows. I brought my old friend Spurgeon. Welcome our friend. Non-contact raps are heard on the table. Dr. Hamilton, will you give us 3 raps? 3 raps are heard. Dr. Hamilton, will you rap out the number of operators you have on your side tonight? 6 raps. Dr. Hamilton, can you lift the table? Yes. Is there someone set apart who does this rapping? No. Dr. Hamilton says he feels something touching the top of his head. On March 15, 1928, Walter made the suggestion that Dr. Hamilton fix up an electric bell and place it in the cabinet. He promised that they would hear it ring. Mary went into the cabinet after the Elizabeth part of the sitting. She began to laugh heartily. She said she saw the fair young man. We asked him to give us some phenomena. She said she heard him say, "What's your hurry?" We remarked then that Mr. Bligh-Bond was coming. Mary laughed harder. She said fair young man showed her a bald spot on Bond's head, and she said that he was going to cop him on the head. We asked fair young man what plane he is on. Mary reports that he says the 3rd. She volunteers the remark that he can be very much in earnest at times. Again she laughs and says that fair young man tells her that she must do her stuff. She reports that she sees him playing on a tin whistle of some kind and hears him remark that his bagpipes are bust. Next she sees him fixing an electric bell and says he tells her that we will hear the bell ring. He is very serious. Now he laughs, says something about the Scotch. Mary shakes with laughter, reports that he has just remarked that we are so Scotch that the heather is growing out of our ears. True, most of those present are of Scots descent. Elizabeth is Highland and Lowland blood, Mary Lowland and Irish. Fair young man appears to Mary to be whistling. Dr. Hamilton asks, "Where is the bell to be placed?" Fair young man replies, "Anywhere in the cabinet." Mary, again in a spasm of laughter, says, "Oh," he says, "damn it." She tells Dr. Hamilton, "You are to get the bell fixed." She remarks that fair young man appears to her with his mouth puckered as if he were whistling. Now she hears him whistle. Mr. Blybond was an archaeologist and noted investigator of psychical phenomena. He was the author of the books The Gates of Remembrance and The Hill of Vision, dealing with automatic script received by him, which helped him in his digging to find the ruins of the original Glastonbury Abbey. He visited Winnipeg about 1930, was the house guest of Dr. and Lillian Hamilton, and lectured on his psychic discoveries to about 700 people in the Old Grace Church. March 18, 1928. Fair young man seen in a vision by Mary. Tell Bonnie Bly to look for a wife when he is on the prairies. Don't tell him I said this. He will blow me up. Elizabeth, entranced. He seems to be up to some mischief. March 22nd, 1928. Fair young man says, "I'm as bold as a devil himself. Hello, where is Baldy? Your Baldy's Bonnie B's Baldy Bly Bond. He is not a bad fellow, but is slow. I tickled the old man's pate. Don't spend all your time with these other fellows. Give a fellow a look in." March 23rd, 1928. This was a casual sitting, Lillian and Mrs. Poole beside the fire. Margaret Hamilton playing the piano in the room below. Elizabeth normal. The script comes. "Music is soothing to the breast. I dislike thinking. Should be proud. I like to tease and tickle. Give Scotty her music. I like music. Used to play the fiddle myself." The above came as automatic writing while Margaret was playing classical music, Gilbert and Sullivan, at the piano in another room. March 25th, 1928. Irregular sitting. Walter makes a second promise to ring the bell. Mary hears the fair young man say that he is sitting on the fence to see which way the cats will jump. W.B. Cooper makes a remark and hears in reply, "Yes, my lord." Fair young man takes the medium for a train ride. He gives a number and makes a promise. By April, Dr. Hamilton had made a bell box. The bell box used was similar in construction to the scientific American bell box used in the Marjorie experiments of Dr. Crandon. It is sufficient to say that it was an ordinary wooden container 6 inches deep, holding an electric bell with one or more dry batteries to ring it. The bell circuit could only be closed by depressing an overlid hinged at one end to the lid proper and supported by a spring. It required a pressure of 10 grams to depress the lid. This bell box he placed on the seance room table. Fair young man says about Bly Bond, "Baldy is all right. I like to tickle his bald spot. He is not a bad little sport." April 1st, 1928. Regular sitting. Mary in trance makes a noise like a train shunting, keeps this up for several minutes. Fair young man speaks through Mary Marshall's trance. "I'll ring the damn box yet." W.B. Cooper says he feels a cold hand touch him on the forehead. Mary comes out of trance and tells the group that she seems to have been on a train, a kind of switchback. She said she was up at the front where the coal was, looking out of a window on the engine. She saw a fair young man. He was singing something about, "When I get there I'll see my girl." Saw him wave to the people beside the gate, shouted to 2 girls, called to someone named Matilda. Stopped in a tunnel. The train went on. Mary, entranced, gave the numbers 78 and 16 twice. April 12, 1928. Early morning, Mary home in bed. The young man appears to Mrs. Marshall standing by the bed. He tells her that he cannot work with so many people in the room. Also tells her that he is brother to Mrs. Crandon, who is known as Marjorie. He shows her a picture of Dr. Crandon's seance room. It is larger than Dr. Hamilton's, has a bigger and stronger cabinet. She feels that it is a still picture. Walter asks for a sitting with 5 people only. After a time, when the work is established, more may be brought in. He is very serious. Later, Mary phones Lillian and arrangements are made to hold a special sitting as requested. Walter said again and again that Stead, Stevenson, Livingston, and Myers were the architects and designers of all that the Hamilton Group would obtain with Mary Marshall. Back of them, he said, were great scientists, Crookes, Gillet, Schrenck-Notzing, and later Lodge, studying the laws of intercommunication, of which there were many types. He said he acted only as their servant, their messenger. He claimed, in fact, to be their main medium and to act for the most part under their mental control. April 11, 1928, special sitting. Fair young man speech by way of Mary Marshall, trans voice. Dr. Hamilton had been putting off the building of the bell box because he frankly did not really take Walter seriously. Now he had finally built the bell box and placed it on the table between the sitters. Walter was not satisfied. He informed the group through Mary Marshall that he wanted the box to be placed on a wooden shelf, not on the table between them, and that this was to be done before the next experiment. Dr. Hamilton later said, "However, I must confess that I was still only casually interested in this new control, and I still neglected to follow his instructions. In fact, he did not actually believe that it was the same Walter from the Marjorie sittings. He took no action with the bell box. Mary Marshall in trance imitates the noise of an engine. Dash along, splash along, clash along, flies the fire fiends to his goal. Through the mole of clay, by the margin of the lake, through the break, dash along, crash along, flies the fire fiend to his distant goal." Again she imitates the engine saying, "Choo, choo, wheel skidding, steady, rotten, rocking freight." This last spoken in mock sepulchral voice. Mary comes out of trance. She says she has been riding on a train, goes through a tunnel, runs along a bank beside the water and trees. Walter was laughing and chewing tobacco. He spat it out. W.B. Cooper hears a voice say, "Good old egg, put your nose over and I'll pull it. The spooks will get you." Mary sees a magnificent Indian standing in the center of the room. His arms are folded. He has a lovely countenance. Mary, entranced, speaks. Black Hawk, "Me help you." Dr. Hamilton, "What is your name?" Black Hawk, "White man." Walter, "Come here soon now. Me not forget to help." Medium, "Good, very good." April 15, 1928. The bell is on the table, all sitters hands linked, the bell rings. Bell rings on request, various combinations of short and long rings. The box is still on the table. Black Hawk speaks. All hands joined in a chain formation. The bell rang spontaneously many times. Dr. Hamilton was absent, attending a committee meeting at the King Memorial Church. Mary clairaudiently hears Walter say that unless the box is placed on the cabinet wall on a shelf as he requested, he won't come back. "They won't believe you," he says. "They say my sister spoke with her ears." He becomes very angry and shouts his message out in a very loud voice. When Dr. Hamilton returned, he was very much impressed by the new control's awareness of the criticism which had been directed at Marjorie by Professor William McDougall, who said of the direct voice in the Crandon group that Marjorie did it with her ears, at a time when the Richardson voice cutout machine was being used to demonstrate the independence of the direct voice. This incident had been told to Dr. Hamilton in private conversation with the Crandons in Boston and was not known to Marjorie or any of the sitters except Lillian. Prior to hearing this very meaningful comment from Walter, Dr. Hamilton at first had been disinclined to take Walter seriously, but now he had heard the one thing which clinched it for him. It broke down Dr. Hamilton's skepticism, and he began to take Walter seriously, and it marked a change in his attitude towards the experiments. From this point on, he became Walter's full partner in this joint effort. He now placed and securely fastened the bell box to a wooden shelf on the inside of the cabinet wall to the left of the seated medium. It was approximately 6 feet from the floor to the depression lid. April 22nd, 1928, Elizabeth vision. I got that Chinaman. He was in the other land. He was standing there talking to me. He was in a beautiful place. Stead was there beside him. They were talking to me. It was just like snow, hills of cloud, higher and higher, and they can walk over these. They are in white robes too. They had like a square over the head. It hung down like a covering over them. They stood there talking to me, and then Spotty came. Elizabeth entranced writes, you and your fat women, some mediums, not like my sister, Walter. On April 25th, 6 weeks after Walter first requests that a bell box be placed in the cabinet, bell ringing occurred under conditions which convinced those present that it had been produced by supernormal means. Mary Marshall's psychic power was clearly aided by Elizabeth Poole's. Two mediums working together was a new phenomenon in the history of psychic exploration. Elizabeth in trance. Usual Stevenson, Livingston, and Stead writings and visions. Mr. Green reports that he feels as if power was being taken from him. After Elizabeth tells her story, the circle is rearranged. Mary Marshall now in the cabinet. To her right, Mr. Green, Lillian, Mrs. Campbell, Elizabeth, W.B. Cooper, hands held throughout the rest of the sitting. All sing Jingle Bells. In about 2 minutes the bell rings, gives long, short, and various combinations on request. Mary claims she sees Walter. She hears him say, pity the old man, Dr. Hamilton, isn't here. He won't believe you. Lillian, oh, I'll tell him. We have a lawyer, Mr. Green, as a witness. Walter through Mary, oh, that won't help you. The nearer you are to a lawyer, the farther you are from grace. The group is told there may be 7 next time. As already noted, in 1928, a personality claiming to be Charles Haddon Spurgeon reappeared as another control of Elizabeth, writing various short sentences, usually of a religious nature, and appearing also in the visions. He had a very loud voice, a love of old and evangelical hymns, and a tremendous gift for preaching. April 29, 1928, I got Charles Spurgeon and Stead, and I can't tell you who came first. I can't tell you which one come. I know, I think Spurgeon. He gave me quite a talk. They were in beautiful long robes. They never came away from the side of the mountain. You would have thought they were attached to it. Both of them stood talking to each other. Then Spotty, Flammarion, came. He wants to talk through me, but he fills my throat with needles. No Walter phenomena this day. May 2nd, 1928, Walter through Mary Marshall. I can't get enough power for that bell. Don't touch that bell until Sunday, then I'll ring it. I need everyone to get the power. I am placing a circle of ectoplasm over your heads. I will place my ectoplasm in the bell box. May 4th, 1928, Mrs. Poole only present, Mary Marshall absent. The medium passed into trance as usual, and after a series of trance intervals gave the following report. I saw Stead and Spurgeon and Spotty. He had on a dark blue suit. On the table there was some kind of an affair like a telescope on a stand. It was brass, heavy, and he was sitting examining it. I saw no others with him, no others in the room. I looked around the room. The decanter was on the buffet. He was sitting facing it. The table was at the left side. The instrument was on the table beside him. The instrument was on some kind of a stand. It was standing on the table. I saw Spurgeon. He spoke to me, and Spotty came in beside me. Spurgeon had on a suit. I can't tell. It was dark anyway. He talked quite a bit. He and Spurgeon were standing. I don't know whether he spoke to me. I saw the sea later and a big boat and big ropes, and I got the letters as reported. Walter does not appear. May 6, 1928, the bell box rings. Elizabeth passes through various trans-automatisms in about 7 minutes. Stevenson controlled 4 of these. Livingston the 5th, 6th and 7th belong to Stead, and the 8th to Spurgeon. The visions are good. In the second circle, Mrs. Marshall occupies the cabinet, and Elizabeth sits to the left of W.B. Cooper. In about 1 minute after our new arrangement, Mrs. Marshall says that a fair young man is present. The bell on the cabinet wall rings. The controllers hold the medium's hands all the time the bell is ringing. Mrs. Marshall reports, he says that you can take your flashlight any time. Asked about the wax, the control replied that it would take a little time and added, you want a lot for your money. Following this, the bell rang various combinations on request of the sitters. When the sitters sing Golden Slippers, Walter interjects the remark that he hopes there will be enough starry crowns also to go around. Dr. Hamilton asks if the bell box is all right. The reply comes back that it will do. Asked if he wanted it made differently, the control replies, make it slimmer and I'll break it. Further discussions as to photographing the bell box and the changes advisable were answered to the effect that it was all right on the side of the cabinet, but the crossbar could be removed. Walter remarks that he could not ring the bell without the little fat woman, Elizabeth. He was never very fat. Your wings sprout quicker if you are not fat. Dr. Hamilton, how did you like the job at Minnedosa? Walter, through Mary, I have a good job. Dr. Hamilton, what kind of a job? Walter, minding my own business. Mrs. Marshall, he is saying something. She listens intently, then she repeats the following. Call upon a businessman, go about your business. So a man of business can attend to his business. There is no explanation as to what this might mean. Then Mary remarks that she hears the voice in her right ear. The left seems to be plugged. Lillian, Mr. Green, and W.B. Cooper reported that they felt touches, cool breezes, cobwebs across the face, and sensations as if power was being taken from them. May 10th, 1928. Usual Elizabeth automatisms and visions. Following the Elizabeth circle, Mary goes into the cabinet. She goes into partial trance, hears a young man say, do you like pea soup? Later she hears him say, you must not take the picture till the last. Keep the circle tight, but relax yourselves. Watch the right-hand corner of the cabinet. Keep the circle tight. Look to the right. See the light. The bell rings many times. We try to keep count and estimate that it rings 50 or more times. Walter asks if the old man is satisfied. This was evident reference to Dr. Hamilton's prolonged doubt as to the actuality of Walter's presence. Dr. Hamilton replies that he is. We are told to keep our feet flat on the floor. Elizabeth, whose limbs are unusually short, remarks we had better put her down a footstool. The bell rings violently. Suddenly the lid is dropped as if it had been held open part of the time. Mary passes into control of Black Hawk. She makes 3 bows, hands folded across her breast, then her right hand raised in the air, palm forward. Black Hawk through Mary. Good evening, Black Hawk here. Much is going on now. Great work. May 14, 1928, Black Hawk through Mary. Everybody here see face soon. His left hand is out. All friends very busy friends. Me no see yet Christ Spirit. May not come here then. may work, his hand in the air. Me great work yet. Oh, many, many great white spirits. Oh, only in the great path. Great white spirit no come down. Watch over friends. Black Hawk goes on. Great work, great work. Work just beginning. We must work in these spheres. We are always with you. Always, always with you. Bows once, twice, both hands across breast, right hand up. Good night, friends. Gives long, peculiar call. No bell ringing. Mary states that she hears Walter say that there is too much electricity in the air. It is unusually warm. Clouds are gathering, but there is no thunder or lightning. Walter through Mary. Can't go on with the tricks tonight. I will give you the signal for firing the flash. I will ring 6 long rings, stop, then 2. Dr. Hamilton agrees to wait for this. Control further says that all sitters are to hold up their hands. Fair young man has some discussion with Dr. Hamilton and Mr. Cummings regarding electricity. He says he handles electricity as energy. Says he uses a high frequency many times greater than any known on Earth. Also says that he uses forces from his world. Says he is making a funny face over Mrs. Marshall's face and that we will all see it after a bit. He says Stead cooperates with him and he must always have the same sitters or else the work will stand, which probably means that it will remain static. He says that he takes power from each sitter. He says goodbye at 10:30 p.m. Mary Marshall sees him clairvoyantly go to the center of the room and pull himself up by something and disappear. May 16, 1928. No bell ringing. Plans made to produce a picture. May 20th, 1928. Walter very serious, scolds Dr. Hamilton, says white light breaks cords. Circle reconstructed. Mary in the cabinet. To her left, Mr. Cooper, Elizabeth, Mr. Green, Mr. Patlado at the back. Mary Marshall hears Walter say, Dr. Hamilton, you must not remove that bell from that shelf again. You have exhausted what I had stored. You must not take it from the seance room. You must not take it into the light. Curfew will not ring tonight. You can sing just the same. Dr. Hamilton, he wants you to understand he is doing something there to the bell. You have broken the cords. He's doing something else. He will ring it next time. He will build up cords again to the box. He has a cord from every sitter around the table. Dr. Hamilton asks if Walter wants a bigger box. The control replies that it does the work. Mary Marshall now sees 2 keys in front of her. They are placed on the table. One has a hole in the back. The other is a skeleton key. It has a very long, long handle. You will know in a little while. Something is going to open. Black Hawk through Mary comes and speaks. Good evening. I have come again, you see. I no forget. Many moons have gone. I know no years. I know no time. All summertime. Beautiful, beautiful land. We help those who come. We bring them out of their darkness. Many are asleep yet. They sleep, some long, some no. We pray. You pray. Pray to the great white spirit. There's only one great spirit. We are waiting to reach the great white throne of our Father God. Black Hawk is asked what message he has for humanity. He replies, do to your brother as you would your brother should do to you. He goes on to say that they are all brothers in the spirit land. They all live in unity, one with the other. If I could take you for one little moment of time and show you the beauties of this plane, you would understand better. It is bright and beautiful, all light. I must hasten away now. I am called away. His right hand goes up. He bows 1, 2, 3 times. Then the call is given. After the sitting, W.B. Cooper gets the impression to wait after the others are gone. Dr. and Lillian Hamilton and Mr. Cooper sit in the dining room. Mr. Cooper hears a voice speaking in his right ear. It claims to be Walter. The voice says, I've made you wait tonight. Don't touch the bell box for 6 days. Vibrations are very good if you continue to keep the same sitters and have them sit on the same chairs. Mark the chairs. May 23, 1928. All hands linked. Mary Marshall reports the fair young man is present. She hears him crack many jokes. The bell rings 37 times. All count the rings. The rings are short and crisp. The sitters all feel cool breezes, cobwebs, etc. W.B. Cooper, immediately before the bell rings, tells that it is going to do so. He says he feels a cool sensation pass his forehead immediately prior to the ring. May 27, 1928. The usual Elizabeth controls. All right well, all seem somewhat critical. Walter writes using the last trance interval. His script is as follows. Don't boss so much. Do something yourself. You doctors are all alike. You are both big and fat. I like my little friend here. Good night. W.S. W.S. stands for Walter Stinson. Elizabeth also spoke the name Walter Stinson in trance. May 30, 1928. Circle late and starting. Elizabeth's customary trance and control writing and visions. There is a long interval with Elizabeth relating visions. She sees Walter in the cabinet. Mary Marshall hears the fair young man control say that there is nothing doing tonight. He also says that he will try for a picture, flashlight, next time. Black Hawk comes through. He gives usual salutation and obeisance. We must all work together. Paleface not here, not wait, come next time. Soon he will make light for you. He do much good for you. He wait too long. Mr. Green's hands are icy cold, then bathed in perspiration. Walter through Mary. A light will appear. June 2nd, 1928. Usual group and circle. Dr. F. Benner at the back of the room taking notes. First circle commences at 9:36 p.m. Usual Elizabeth phenomena. At 9:57 p.m., Mary Marshall takes a chair in the cabinet. She reports that she sees a light at the end of the room. It is not visible to the sitters. Mary laughs and says the power is terrible. At 10 p.m., Mary stands up. At 10:02 p.m., the bell rings, then 2 more rings. Black Hawk comes through Mary. White man here now. White man now got already. Busy, busy, busy boy. Dr. Hamilton asks if he will tell what Walter is trying to do. Black Hawk replies, not now. Sing, sing. The bell rings. Mary Marshall falls forward with her head on the table. A voice is heard, hoarse and indistinct. It says, good evening. Mr. Cooper asks who is speaking. The voice replies, Walter. Dr. Hamilton, what are your instructions, Walter? The reply is unintelligible. Dr. Hamilton, are you using an ectoplasmic machine? Walter, yes. The voice is in a stage whisper, very indistinct, like the beginning of speech. Mary Marshall, normal, reports that fair young man says, you are not to touch the bell box. Things are fine. She says that he has on trousers, a shirt, and a dark silky cap, a peak on the cap. His sleeves are rolled up. He is in the center of the room laughing. He says that we won't be worth much when he is through with us. He says he is ready when we are. Says he will give the signal right away. Dr. Hamilton is boss. At 10:30 p.m. Walter says, that's all for tonight. Good night. So long. Did you see me? The left side has a photo of the group holding hands. June 4, 1928. Walter through Mary. Speaks of the use of the bell cords. See the plates of June 4. No teleplasmic mass. By pre-arrangement between Walter and Dr. Hamilton, the bell rings by supernormal means to give signal to fire the flash. Subsequent magnification of the negative reveals the bell cords from the medium to the bell box. The bell is ringing at time flash was fired. Sitting begins at 9:55 p.m. At 9:57 p.m. the bell rings and the medium gasps. She appears to be under stress. Bell rings at 9:59 and again at 9:59 and a half. Mary Marshall says, "1 to be ready." The bell gives 6 rings, pauses, 1 ring. The flash is fired. The bell rings after the flash. Mary Marshall remarks that both Black Hawk and Walter are present. The group sings. The bell gives a jingle. Mary Marshall, in trance, becomes violently upset, makes fighting movements and gasps out, "Upset all my work, upset all my work. He did, upset it. It's Walter." "Dr. Hamilton, what is the matter?" Walter through Mary, my work, he did. That Indian devil. Send him away." He gasps again, less violently, but still under stress of great emotion. "My work, oh my work." Dr. Hamilton promises that we will help him again. Walter through Mary, "He broke the cords just now when I rang the bell. They are all down." He sounds broken. Dr. Hamilton, "Who did it, Walter?" Walter through Mary, Scarface. "He laughed, the devil." The medium is quiet for a moment, then shivers and hisses between her teeth, "The devil, the devil. He followed my friend Black Hawk. Ha! You run, you run." He has gone. We had some conversation with Stead and Black Hawk regarding the accident, and the sitting closes. June 6, 1928. The voice grows stronger. The group sings Jingle Bells. Mary says that Walter says, "You may jingle bells, but I cannot tonight." Black Hawk comes and says, "Pale-faced busy boy." Mrs. Marshall is in trance. There is a whistling sound and a curious voice. Then asked if more sitters are wanted, the voice says no. Asked if the voice is the beginning of an ectoplasmic voice, the voice replies in the affirmative. Mrs. Marshall comes out of trance and says that Walter said he would surprise the old man when he comes back, also that he would be seeing him. Mary Marshall got the letters R-A-Y. Elizabeth got the letters R-A-Y-M-O-N-D. Dr. Hamilton and Lillian and Dr. J.D. Hamilton were in Prince Edward Island attending the annual convention of the CMA. They left Winnipeg around June 19, and after the convention drove south along the Atlantic coast to Boston, where they were the guests of the Crandons from June 27 to July 4, 1928. They attended several sittings with Marjorie and met Walter in the Crandon seance room several times. They returned to Winnipeg about July 15, 1928. Walter greeted them on the first sitting at 10 Lime Street, Boston. "Why, here's old Ham and the 2 little pieces of bacon." This gave good opportunities to compare the Winnipeg Walter with the Boston Walter. They were a lot alike, but not completely identical. June 13, 1928. The voice is improving. First circle, Elizabeth is in the cabinet. Second circle, Mary is in the cabinet. The bell rang in about 2 minutes, and several times, lightly and also vigorously, Walter, in a jovial mood, cracks many jokes. Black Hawk comes and says, "Paleface is a very busy boy, much harm done, all to build again." Also says we would not know Paleface was present except for bell ringing. He speaks of the power of thought. Editor's note: this is a common occurrence in seances. The Earthside sitters assume that the far world sitters can see each other, both being spirit. This is not true. There may be enough vibrational differences between the far world sitters to make them invisible to each other. In New Control, a traveler tells us to tell abroad the good news. Ewan at this time is under much stress. A peculiar throaty voice is heard again. Mr. Green puts his ear close to Mary Marshall and says it is not her normal voice. He is sure of this. We hear the words, "Good night." Walter purports now to speak through the medium's own voice. He is exceedingly witty. The replies come quickly and aptly. He wants the camera to be made ready. He wants to surprise the old man. Ewan under much stress. W.B. Cooper feels something on the back of his neck. Walter says he is washing it. He becomes more serious and says we are all brothers and sisters. The medium hears him swearing and is shocked. He tells Elizabeth he needs her and she is to stay in her chair. Walter writes using Mary Marshall's hand in trance. The writing is not recorded. June 21st, 1928. The voice is the best yet. It's a direct voice and the bell box. Walter scolds because of delay. The Elizabeth phenomena are excellent. Mary's circle follows. Even under a strong influence, his hands dripping with perspiration, Walter talks very little. Black Hawk controls Mary and says that Paleface is taking ectoplasm from Ewan. A throaty voice is now heard. Mary in trance, Ewan's head resting on the tabletop. The voice is the best yet. We make out the words, keep it going, and hear a whistle. We sing Jingle Bells. When we come to the line, the horse was lean and lank, the voice interjects, that horse is dead now. Fair young man tells Mary that he used to play the mouth organ. This remark appears to be the result of Glenn Hamilton playing a mouth organ in a room below. June 27, 1928. Automatic writing. Mrs. Marshall is the medium. 10 Lyon Street, Boston, New York. Walter Stinson. Handwritten note. Why has Walter written, apparently deliberately, a wrong address? A play on 10 Lime Street? June 28, 1928. Direct voice and bell box. We enter the seance room at 10:10 p.m. As we are arranging our places and getting seated, the bell rings vigorously. Elizabeth enters the cabinet and soon passes into trance. At 10:20 p.m., Elizabeth is normal. Mary goes into the cabinet and comes under Walter's control. He fairly yells at us, I said 10 p.m. I keep my word. I rang the bell. You did not keep your word. Mary starts to write. After the sitting, it is found that she has written, procrastination is the thief of time. We suppose this is Walter's writing. Several guests are present. Elizabeth's usual controls manifest, and Walter writes in one of her trance intervals, the train hasher, Walter Stinson. Elizabeth claims to see the young man. Walter through Mary, the light will be bright. Mrs. Marshall comes to and says that there was something on her eyes which was cold and wet. She hears Walter say that he wishes he had a cane and he would give us all a lick. Tells Elizabeth to ring the bell herself. W.B. Cooper remarks that he feels something on the back of his neck. Walter says to let the cat lick it. Mrs. Marshall hears him say that he will show a bright light soon. Also, you can go home now. You are a lot of bums. He leaves. Mary declares that he has left his apparatus in the center of the room, suspended by 3 cords. Mary now stands and bows 3 times, left hand across breast. Black Hawk, good evening, friends. Paleface is very busy boy. I am come to be with you. I am happy to be with you. I go. Bows 3 times, right hand up, gives long call. Walter returns. Puffing Billy starts to go. We hear the voice. It says, keep quiet. Good night. It appears to come from the medium's left ear. The Hamiltons returned to Winnipeg about July 15, 1928. July 24, 1928, Walter talks well with his own voice. Editor's note, Walter has constructed an apparatus from ectoplasm that he can manipulate to imitate his own voice. The medium only supplies the ectoplasm. The voice is the vibration resulting from the manipulation of the ectoplasm by Walter without help from the medium. This is called the direct voice. The Hamiltons apparently never had a Richardson voice cut-out machine such as the Crandons had at their seances. This machine in some way made sure that the medium could not use her voice so that the sitters could be confident that the voice was emanating from the ectoplasmic apparatus. The guests are Reverend and Mrs. T.B. McMillan of Hatpiplia, India. Usual Elizabeth manifestations, the script is good. Mary now in cabinet and in trance. The bell rings about 30 times. Walter says that he rings the bell with Elizabeth's hair. The direct voice is excellent. With it, Walter gives this jingle. When eggs are stuffed with plums, when whiskers grow on your gums, then we'll be chums, sweet Marie. On August the 2nd, 1928, there was a skein of twisted teleplasm. A prearranged signal was given by the bell box rung supernormally. August 5th, 1928, there's a teleplasm photographed on this day. The first part of the sitting consisted of Elizabeth in the cabinet, usual phenomena of trance visions and writings. Mary passed into trance, and in a few moments Walter came through using the automatic voice of the medium. He said he could not expend his energy using the direct voice if we wished a picture. He gave us our choice. We decided in favor of the picture, and Walter said that he would try. Dr. Hamilton then discussed with him the bell box signal. It was agreed that Walter would give 6 rings, then 2, and Dr. Hamilton would take the picture on the single ring following the signal. That is, Dr. Hamilton was to fire the flashlight on the 9th ring. For the second part of the sitting, changes in position were made, with Elizabeth leaving the cabinet and Mary entering it. According to instructions from Walter, a rope circle was used to hold the hands of all in the circle in order to maintain the circle's continuity. Walter explained that this was only an experiment of his, and he did not know whether it would work all right. After giving the bell a few preliminary rings as a tryout, he gave 6 rings at about 3/4 second intervals. Then followed a pause of about 10 seconds, then 2 rings as before, then a pause of about 10 seconds, then 1 ring for the flash. Dr. Hamilton allowed this ring to last about 2 seconds before the flash, and it continued to ring for fully 2 seconds after the flash. Walter said that the 2 portions of the mask came from the 2 nostrils and that he had twisted these together. He said that the cord from the medium to the bell box is the teleplasmic cord by which he makes the bell ring. He does not use it as a pull string on the bell box, but as a conductor for the nerve energy from the medium up to the box. He says this energy is not electricity, but is somewhat like it, that it is in reality nerve force. Editor's note. Walter here seems to be saying that he does not pull down on the overlid to close contacts for the bell circuit to be completed. Most likely there were metal contacts between the lid and the overlid which would complete the battery circuit with the bell. If not, then one wonders why any lids were required at all. Where was the circuit left open between the batteries and the bell so that the bell would not ring unless the ectoplasm was used to complete the circuit somehow? Is there an opening in the circuit somewhat like a synapse between nerves, which is somehow bridged by the nerve energy of the ectoplasm when the bell is to be rung? Or does the energy somehow actually depress the overlid without the use of a pulling action on the ectoplasmic cords? Are there contacts between the lid and the overlid which are closed by some pressure on the overlid exerted by the ectoplasmic energy? That Dr. Hamilton was puzzled by this phenomenon is clear. He had built the box and knew all the details of its construction, and his questions over time show that he remained puzzled as to the exact nature of the force or energy that rang the bell. The photo shows a twisted ectoplasmic mass of pure white attached to the left cheek of the medium and hanging well down to the shoulder level. A cord from the margin of the mass of the left cheek leading straight to the corner of the bell box nearest the medium. This cord, as it appears, is a darkish color and is quite visible in the quartz lens picture for almost its entire reach up to the box. The lowest part of this cord, where it is over the face, is also recorded by the 3 glass lenses. The bell rang before, during, and after the flash. Consequently, the teleplasmic energy was sustained all this time. Walter insists that in the production of this phenomenon of teleplasm, Elizabeth is absolutely essential. He says he gets the power from Elizabeth and puts it through Mary. The men in the group are not as essential as the women. The medium was rather badly affected by this experiment. She reported to us subsequently that she had been very nervous and wakeful after returning home, and that she had vomited up some froth about 2 hours after the flash. Dr. Hamilton: the pictures are so good they have staggered some folks. Walter: the worst is yet to come. Dr. Hamilton asked about the sitters and the rope. Walter: have all of the sitters in view. After the 6th ring, drop the cord down the medium's back. Don't all drop it. He gave the direction again. Keep hands together. He says energy is related to electricity but is different. Dr. Hamilton: is it more similar to nerve energy? Walter: yes. Asked about his method of ringing the bell box with Marjorie, he replied that he had energy connected with himself, partly depending on Marjorie and partly depending on stored energy. Dr. Hamilton now asked if the cords to the box depressed it, or did they communicate energy. Walter replied that they communicated energy. Dr. Hamilton: can I take the flash now? Yes. Dr. Hamilton asked if Walter would count to 4, and he would flash on 4. When Walter had counted to 3, Dr. Hamilton made the flash. He asked if it was all right, and Walter's voice said it was all right. Then he told us that he could not give the signals as he did not have his connections properly made. Walter said he did not want to be a failure. Next time he would ring both bells. He gave instructions as to placing both boxes. The bell rang intermittently. Walter through Mary: I ring it to keep your attention. Place your bell on the right side of the cabinet. No pictures tonight. I will make a picture with a face in it. What about signals? Dr. Hamilton: I suggest 3 rings, stop, 2 rings, stop, 1 ring, and I'll take it immediately on the last ring. Walter through Mary: fine. You've got too many cameras for good results. I want just 1 camera in front of the cabinet for the spirit photos. He gives the signal. The flash is fired at 10:18 p.m. The bell continues to ring for 2 seconds after the exposure is made. Walter through Mary asks for 2nd exposure. Dr. Hamilton is not ready for that, but agrees to arrange for a series of exposures. Walter's instructions: for a spirit face photo, use a quartz lens. In the center, facing the cabinet, 6 to 8 feet away. Dr. Hamilton: what about the group? Walter through Mary: no strangers. 1st and 2nd people on either side of the medium must not change. Then have ladies and men alternating. I must have my negatives and positives. Ladies are negative and men positive. While speaking, the bell continues to ring intermittently. Dr. Hamilton: Walter, tell us what we got in our picture. It would be interesting to know beforehand what is on the plates. Walter through Mary: oh, not very much. Just a little ectoplasm on Elizabeth's cheek coming from Elizabeth's eye and Elizabeth's nostril. This was confirmed when the plates were developed and printed. He had an important message for Mr. Macmillan, the substance of which was as follows: you have a wonderful opportunity ahead of you. I never thought much of parsons, but you have a great work. Teach the young of that far-off land that love casteth out fear, that their spirit friends can return to them. You have the knowledge. Give them that knowledge. Teach the teenage boys and girls that which you know. If you are in difficulties, call on Walter. a thought will bring me. I will help you and will bring others to help you. Do not try to please the man higher up in your teaching, but teach love and your own ideas. Dr. Hamilton, do not ministers rely on Christ for help? Walter replies, I have nothing to say but that it is all from a higher source. The ambassadors bring help to this world from the other. Then the whistle and a friendly so long. When Walter's direct voice developed, it was at first indistinct, but later became fairly strong. He spoke considerably by automatism through the medium, using the medium's voice, and also he was in part heard clairaudiently by Mary and others in the circle. He said the power was weak tonight, that he could not have so large a showing of teleplasm as the former photo had shown, that he had not sufficient power to get the bell signals. I asked him whether he could give no signal in another way, that is, count 1, 2, 3, and I would flash on 4, unspoken. This he said he could do, and accordingly in a few minutes all heard the count being made. I exploded the flash on the time appointed, and shortly thereafter Walter again came through. He said we had secured a photo of teleplasm all right, but it was not very large in bulk. At a later sitting, I questioned Walter about this ectoplasm. He said he had put a knot in the mass in order to take it up, so that none of it would appear as over the mouth, thus rendering the incident open to the assertion that it was something held in the mouth of the medium. Note, Dr. Hamilton liked the term teleplasm, meaning plasm at a distance, more than the term ectoplasm, which had been selected by Richer back in 1905 to describe similar masses seen with Eva C. in France. August 26, 1928, meeting opens with singing. Within 5 minutes, Elizabeth is in deep trance and the usual writing automatism is manifested. She comes out of trance and recounts her visions. Mary says that she has seen Walter and that she heard the words late again and skinny Lizzie, probably referring to Elizabeth, who is far from slender. Mary remarked, he's been working with my face. I thought I wouldn't be able to open my mouth. The arrangement of the circle was then altered to allow Mary to occupy the cabinet. There was a little conversation, one of the gentlemen asking Dr. Hamilton if he had everything prepared. Oh, I've got my foot on the clutch all right, was the answer. Mary started to laugh, saying, I just heard Walter say, have you your foot on the brake? The group sing, and almost at once the bell box gives one short but decisive ring. Mary seems to be in distress. Then, while the singing continues, Walter rings the bell 14 times, 13 short and 1 long, in the space of 3 minutes. Dr. Hamilton explained to Walter about the arrangement of the cameras, and then we sing again. Again the bell rings, first one fairly long ring, then one short, and finally one long ring. We hum softly for a few minutes more, and at 10:14 p.m. we hear Walter. He attempts to use his own voice, but speaks with great difficulty, hesitating and stuttering. Good evening. I'm sorry, too many chords broken. I tried to produce my hand and broke my cords. In reply to Dr. Hamilton's question about a signal for taking a flash, Walter replied, still using his teleplasmic voice, I will count. Not yet. When you're ready, I'm ready. Then speaking through the medium's voice, I'm sorry to have broken my cords. I was trying to place my hand on the box. I will do it, but I cannot do it tonight. Conditions are not too good. When you are ready, you can tell me. Dr. Hamilton then repeated the question about the photographic signals, to which Walter replied, I will count 1, 2, 3, and you take a flash on 4. Concerning the bell box, Dr. Hamilton says, I've put 4 screws in the box. Walter says, no, wooden pegs or glue, no more metal than in the battery or the bell, no more iron substance. It interferes with my cords. My medium is very nervous tonight. What is wrong? He was told that Mary's friend had just died. Dr. Hamilton asks about a message that Mr. Macmillan had received at the previous sitting. In answer, Walter says, "I gave it for someone else who was anxious to convey it to him. It was someone who had been with him before in his work. Mr. Macmillan is a missionary in India." Addressing the group as a whole, Walter goes on, "I will not be with you for 2 more sittings, and then I will give you something that will surprise you. I will speak to you, but will not do anything. I want to give you something better. It will take time. It is difficult when you change places. The adjusting of yourselves interferes. If only you could be seated and not move again. I know it is unavoidable, and I work accordingly. I have a great work ahead of me. I'm making some new experiments in Boston with my sister. You will hear of them." Dr. Hamilton, "How would it be if I sat all the time where I am now?" Walter, "Oh yes, it would take a little stretch of power. You are not so thin, you know. Keep as you are. I do not want to interfere with anyone else." Dr. Hamilton suggests placing a second cabinet beside the present one so that Elizabeth and Mary would not have to move. Walter, "Oh yes, it would be quite all right and much easier for me. If there is no changing, it would be better. I could quite easily work through the mediums if they both sat side by side." Dr. Hamilton, "Do you confer with Stevenson and Stead?" Walter, "No, they are in a different plane, but we often meet. I know them well. They've realized the difficulties in reading the writing due to the conditions of the people who are with you, the spirit people. These conditions will mend themselves." Dr. Hamilton, "Does the type of music have anything to do with this?" Walter, "You want something soothing and peaceful. The music you have is all right. I would rather have a phonograph." Dr. Hamilton, "I will put up a little phonograph on the wall and arrange it so that it can be started by an electric button." Walter offers to start it himself, then continues, "All right, let's go for the photograph." According to directions, all hands were placed lightly on the table. Walter then counts in his own teleplasmic voice, slowly and clearly. 1, 2, 3, and on the 4 the flash is fired. All begin to sing softly again, and soon an embryonic whistle is heard, attempting to keep time to the music. It is not confined to the cabinet, but is heard close to various sitters. Mr. Cooper claims it came on his left shoulder. It was first on one side of the medium and then on the other. Cold breezes are felt by the various sitters, and Elizabeth says that a whistle is heard behind her head. Mr. Cooper experiences a peculiar sensation around his neck, remarking, "Walter is washing my neck." Walter, "Your neck's far from your feet." Mr. Macmillan, "Perhaps he's going to wash your feet." Walter, "Perhaps they need it." A few more words are exchanged and Walter calls out, "So long, everybody." September 5th, 1928. Customary Elizabeth phenomena. The new bell box was placed on the table for Walter's inspection. Mary said, "Walter is here," and 1 minute later he rang the bell once. Then in quick succession followed one long, one short, and one short ring. Mary says, "That's good enough for him to ring. He gave me such a dig in the back when he was going to ring." Soon we heard one long ring and 2 minutes later a short one. "Just to let us know he's here," Mary hears him say. We were softly humming Clementine when suddenly the bell rang very hard. It took only a second or two to realize that our jovial friend was providing a little additional music, and he accompanied the song throughout the chorus. In conclusion, as if to applaud, he gave 3 cheers and a tiger, followed by a tiger's cub. These last words Mary had him say clairaudiently. From 10:01 p.m. to 10:04 p.m. the bell rang 10 times, 8 short and 2 long rings. Mary cried out, "Oh my, he's put something right on my eye, but he says it won't blind me." Apparently Walter was experimenting with his apparatus, for again the bell rang 9 times in the space of 2 minutes. The ringing stopped when Mary told us that Black Hawk was present, just looking on. Mary, there is a very dark Indian standing to the left of Black Hawk, near the door. He has a girdle around his body. No fancy dress, all muscles. He's fierce looking, but he's a friend. Black Hawk says he'll not interfere. He is terrible looking. His face is scarred and marked. Dr. Hamilton, what's Walter doing? Mary Marshall, he's above my head. He's working with my right ear. At 10:08 p.m. the bell began to ring once more. We resumed our singing, but this time My Bonnie Lies Over the Ocean was the choice. Apparently it pleased Walter, for he furnished a most delightful obligato with his instrument, the bell. September 8, 1928. The meeting opened and soon the medium is in deep trance. Elizabeth, I was on a boat. I saw a familiar place. Boat in a harbor, man ringing a handbell. Stevenson. Livy talking Gaelic. Saw Stead in a circle, all in robes. This room would not hold that circle, all glowing faces and robes lighting the room. The new bell box was on the table for Walter's inspection. Walter, here, try new box, one long ring, then another and another. He says the old one is good enough. Your box, as you call it, is in order. Have it placed on the right side of the cabinet. Have it fastened securely to the cabinet wall. No pictures tonight. I will explain why later. I will make a picture, one with a face in it. Put the box in the cabinet. I do not say I will be able to ring it. Pack Excelsior around the battery. The bell rings and Walter says, if you only put your shoulder to the wheel. I am ringing the bell to keep your attention. I ring it also to let you know I am here. On September 12, 1928, Walter added, the higher you progress in the spirit world, the greater your knowledge. You grow as in the material world. You take on another form. It is just like looking into a mirror. It is a reflection. This is known as the ethereal body. It grows more solid as you progress. It is everlasting. Editor's note. Was this reference to mirrors a subtle hint as to the nature of the faces to come? Other workers in this field who had photographed ectoplasmic faces had already noticed that the faces appeared to be mirror images, as of images reflected in a mirror of the original faces. There is no end. I am a soul who is traveling and trying to help those on the material plane. You are all guarded and watched by someone in the spirit world. In the experiment of September 23, 1928, one of the sitters saw Walter's light and the bell rang once. At that moment the light became very distinct. Walter, everybody see my lantern? Nearly everyone saw it, some more distinctly than others. September 17, 1928. Walter, through Mary Marshall, speaks of effects of thought on his work. Elizabeth, Stead had a good circle of his own. This room wouldn't hold his. He sits in the center of his people. They are round in robes, bluish-white like a cloud. I saw Spurgeon, but he could not get near. At 9:38 p.m. a change is made. Elizabeth leaves the cabinet. Walter, you would be surprised if you could see how your thoughts dissolve the work. When you really concentrated, it is like a white vapor. I am not ready, so you are not to expect anything. Be always ready. Dr. Hamilton, how about changing mediums? Mary, he is busy just now. Mr. Green is to sit beside Mr. J.A. Hamilton. Walter, lucky for you that you married her. Not many like her to be found. This is a reference to Lillian Hamilton. Elizabeth, come on, Walter, give us a ring to waken us up. Walter, who is running this show anyway? Oh, take it off, take it off. He's referring to the canned music. It's too distracting. Sing up, sing up. Standing up now, stamps feet in time to music, pushes chair about in cabinet. The singing dies down. Walter, sing up, sing Golden Slippers. Walter, you'll not need any more Negroes. Introduces shuffling step dance. Medium dances up on chair, ends with a big stamp, sits down. Black Hawk, good evening, friends. Paleface asked me to take his place. All is ready for the next sitting. I have a few words to say. I am just liberating Paleface. Dr. Hamilton, is Paleface at work? Black Hawk, yes, here. There is nothing more to do tonight. Dr. Hamilton, any objection to another camera? Black Hawk, I can't answer. Dr. Hamilton, Mr. and Mrs. Macmillan are leaving for India in 2 days. Black Hawk, all your heads are being used. There is a little pressure, not very much. It will do no harm. Do not be afraid. I am holding for the present. I have to stand here. Question, will Paleface come? Answer, no, not tonight. He is a very busy boy. September 23rd, 1928. Walter comments on the bell cords and light. There is also discussion with Dr. Hamilton about cameras. Walter through dawn, Mary Marshall's new name. He states that there is a little teleplasm on the lip and cheek. The usual Elizabeth circle. At 9:44 p.m. preparations are made for Walter's sitting. Mary in the cabinet clairaudiently heard Walter say, "You're to drop the rope down. You are to take the evidence. He says he may chime in once in a while, but it's all right. It's just his method. You're to relax and be passive." Evidence here refers to noting Elizabeth's clairvoyance. We had hesitated and discussed whether we should take the time for her relating all the visions, as we were anxious to have Walter. As Elizabeth was recounting what she had seen, Walter chimed in at 9:48 p.m. with one ring on the new bell box. A minute later, another ring was heard, then 3 rings. During all this time, Mary was in trance, and through her, Walter assisted Elizabeth, jogging her memory when she forgot to tell of one of the characters of her pictures. Dr. Hamilton had the cameras prepared for a flash, but Walter, in answer to a question about a picture, said, "It's not very satisfactory yet. It's only in its infancy. I've got my troubles with her clothes, the damn stuff she's rubbed her body with. Mary has rubbed her shoulders with some damn stuff. She should ask somebody here to rub. It's very hard. If she uses any of that stuff again, have it removed. Remove her clothes. If she doesn't take them off, I will." At 10:05 p.m. the new bell box rang thrice. Then Walter commanded, "Music, music." La Paloma was put on the Victrola, but Walter was getting a little tired of it and wanted to know if we hadn't any other record that we could sing to. The medium then stood up. "I have tried to undo her garments. I have removed her pendant. It is on the floor. Be careful you do not tramp on it, as she values it. It is so very difficult for me tonight. You should have removed her outer garments, particularly in the cabinet." All of this said in a labored, heavily breathed manner. Mary sat down, then said, "Sing." Walter attempted to whistle to Golden Slippers, and 2 minutes later the new bell box rang 7 times, the second ring being quite lengthy. At 10:06 p.m. Lillian Hamilton saw Walter's light, and at 10:07 p.m. the bell rang once. At that moment the light became very distinct. Walter, "Everybody see my lantern?" Nearly everyone saw it, some more distinctly than others. Walter was asked why those on the right saw it more clearly than those on the left, and he answered, "I guess they were looking. It's the same lantern I have in Boston. Did the people at the back see it?" Answer, "No, we didn't." Walter, "I guess you were asleep. My light is small, but it's like everything else, it'll grow." If I did take off her clothes, everybody would see it. She can do fine without her corset. Here the new bell box rang once. Well, I'm ready for the photograph. What about signals? Dr. Hamilton, what about 3 rings, stop, 2 rings, stop, 1 ring, and I'll take it immediately on the last ring. Walter, fine. Speaking to W.B. Cooper, who had heard Walter talking into his ear and who remarked on it, I'm telling him to keep his nose out of other people's business. Here the bell rang once. That's his hirsute appendages. Dr. Hamilton, what about the cameras here, Walter? Walter, you've got too many cameras for good results. I want just 1 camera in front of the cabinet for the spirit photographs. There are many spirits around here, but they wouldn't be seen or heard. Dr. Hamilton, what kind of cameras do you want? Walter, I leave that to you. You know your materials. I cannot work with your materials. I do not know the strength of them. Now, are you ready? All hands on the table. The signal agreed to was given and the flash was fired at 10:18 p.m., the bell box continuing to ring on the last long ring after the discharge was made. Dr. Hamilton, this didn't kill your machine this time? Walter, no, not quite. 2 rings. Are you ready for another flash? Dr. Hamilton, no, Walter, I'm sorry. I had all the cameras focused on the medium for the 1 picture. Walter, it is better to have them separate than all together. You might get something very interesting. 2 long rings. Dr. Hamilton, all right, I'll arrange to have some cameras ready for a second flash. Walter, for a spirit photograph, use a quartz lens. Place it in the center facing the cabinet, 6 to 8 feet away. If you notice, I'm taking my power from the right side of the circle. When I work both bells, there will be no ectoplasm or light. I got power for the bells from the right and for ectoplasm from the left. W.B. Cooper, I heard Walter talking over here just now. I wonder how he could be here and there in the cabinet also. Walter, oh, I have a long neck. I'm like an ostrich. 1 ring. Dr. Hamilton, Walter, tell us what we got in our picture. It would be interesting to know beforehand what is on the plates. Walter, oh, not very much. Just a little ectoplasm on the left cheek, coming from the left eye and left nostril. Very small and thin. I required more for my light. I can only take a little from her body just now. It is working quite satisfactorily if only she would remove her garments. The bell rings 10 times. Dr. Hamilton, oh, Walter, the other day I got a book from Dr. Crandon that I prize very much. You couldn't send him my thanks, could you? I'll write to verify it. Walter, sure. Medium began to thump her feet. Music, music. 10:26 p.m. Mary stands up. Walter, if only you could put your shoulder to the wheel, put a little pep in it, in the singing. We began to sing tramp, tramp, tramp in a much heartier manner than ever before. The medium clapped her hands with the music and then imitated a train shunting, choo, choo, etc. Arms going around like driven wheels. The hands of the medium were controlled. At 10:30 p.m. Walter showed everyone his light. It was very clear, not very large, and high up near the medium's head. It did not remain in one position but moved about like a fairy lantern. Walter, there, see what a little pep did. You want to sing up. You have no idea how it helps. It creates a vibration, a thrill. You can go now. I must go. So long. Upon turning up the red light, it was found that Mary's clothing was all undone. Her hands had been controlled throughout by Dr. J.A. Hamilton and Dr. T.G. Hamilton. Walter must have done it himself. In Dr. Hamilton's words, this photo was taken by a Gers stereoscopic camera, September 23, 1928. It is a third of 3 pictures which were taken by firing the flash on signal received from the bell box. It is of special interest in that the facts associated with its production and the features of the pictures are very definitely intentional. Before taking the flash, the control insisted that I make a choice as to what signal I wanted. I immediately suggested that the signal 3 rings, 2 rings, and 1 ring on the bell box be given. I to fire on the 1. To this he consented. and shortly the signal came through as arranged and the flash made accordingly. I then asked what we had received in the picture later when developed. The reply came that there would be found a small mass of ectoplasm from the left nostril and left eye of the medium. I developed the plates, and in this plate from the girl's stereo we find some wonderfully clear detail. There is to be noted a dark line running from the right angle of the medium's mouth upward over the right cheek and temple, and if this is closely followed it will be seen to pass upward obliquely past the outer corners of the shelf on which the bell box is placed. This fine line traverses obliquely the upper 6 sections of the corner dovetail of the bell box to disappear over the top of the depression lid. Close to where this passes will be noted a darkish area on the near edge of the box lid, in front of the depression lid. This dark mass, under high magnification, is evidently composed of numerous coils of thread-like nature. From below the box bottom at its distant end may also be seen distinctly a fine, dark, somewhat irregular, tortuous cord, which passes downward and outward till it disappears in the shadow behind the head of the medium, Mary. It will be noticed that in this experiment the cords and the bell box used are to the right of the medium, while on August 5th the bell box and the cord were to the left. Here I think we have additional proof that there is a very definite connection between the phenomenon of the bell ringing and the presence of teleplasmic cords. This September 23rd sitting gave, it is seen, a summing up, as it were, of the phenomena established at this time, bell ringing, including its use as a signal, and the teleplasm of 2 types. In addition, another step forward was made in the appearance of the long-promised light. It gave also a very definite example of an interesting and important subjective manifestation, the Walter-controlled supernormal awareness of what was on the photographic plates, while they were still in the cameras and we were still in darkness. No indication was given, however, of the phenomena which they were to receive at the next experiment. In this there are 3 features of interest from the standpoint of teleplasm and 2 from the standpoint of the intelligence back of it. First, the morphology of the teleplasm appearing on the face has taken on a very definite form, resembling a strip of dough or pork fat, curved to accommodate the depression of the left eye and left side of the nose. Its form resembles much that appears upon the cheek in the former photograph, only that there it was tied into a knot. Secondly, we see here from the right cheek a cord of teleplasm extending upward to the inner margin of the top of the bell box. This cord is very definitely defined as it passes the corner of the box and mounts above to pass over to the lid above. This cord, on close inspection, is drawn definitely taut. From near the center of the box below there is also visible another cord which passes downward obliquely toward the back part of the head of the medium on the right side. The point of attachment of this cord to the head is not apparent, but it is shown in the stereo picture to disappear in the hair of the head just above and behind the right ear. This cord is slightly larger than the other, and it is tortuous and irregular in outline. It is not seemingly taut. In regard to the intelligence of the control as displayed at the time of taking this photograph, it is to be noted that request was made. Firstly, that the face of the medium be examined. The face, head, and neck were accordingly carefully felt by several of those present, the hands of the medium being, of course, held continuously throughout and thereafter. The control then asked me what signal I wished to fire the flash. I suggested the bell be given 3, 2, and 1 rings, the flash to be fired on the 1. This was done and the exposure made. At this stage I remarked to Control that it would be of interest now if he would tell us exactly what we might expect to find when the picture was developed, and we were told that there would be a small piece of ectoplasm from the left eye and nostril. Of the results found, the photograph speaks for itself. The results found are splendidly displayed in the print from the various negatives. This then constitutes the beginning of the work of the director Walter, whom we now believe to be exactly what he claimed to be, namely, a man who had tasted death, had survived, and from his new state worked to bring objective and subjective proof of man's essential immortality. There is a photo of the seance, a wide-angle view of the experiment. At the previous sitting, Walter had said, "The bell will give the signal." In all negatives, the chords could be seen clearly. They grow finer as they come nearer to the bell box. The medium is Mary, now and later named Dawn. Hands held at all times. Signal to fire, the flashlight was given by the bell. Dr. Hamilton, I suppose you see Raymond Lodge. Is he very busy? Walter, oh yes, he is busy in another way. We are blazing the trail that you will follow. Not you, but the younger members. Dr. Hamilton, do you think we shall establish it? Walter, I do not think, I know. We work by faith in this land. Raymond is very busy. He is with his father all the time, just as I am with my sister. Dr. Hamilton, did Horace Leaf ever visit with Crandon? No, but he's been with them. Dr. Hamilton, our Wednesday sitting will have to be later on account of Mr. Leaf's lecture. Walter through Mary, all right, sing. We sing tramp, 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 the medium keeping time with her feet. Mr. Green is in acute spasm. Walter through Mary, is the rope on the ground? When you have counted 3, I will count, and when I have said 3, wait 2 seconds, then fire. Hold the medium's hands up a little. 1, 2, 3. Dr. Hamilton pushed the button, but there was no flash. The wire was not connected. After a minute or so, the socket was plugged in. Walter, I am afraid, very much afraid, but we will try. 1, 2, 3. The flash is fired. Dr. Hamilton to Mary, are you all right? Mary, yes, just a moment. Walter through Mary, this has not been a success. I am sorry. We can try again, but not tonight. Dr. Hamilton, well, Walter, tell us what we will get when we develop the plates. Walter, you will get a form upside down as it fell. It is the form of a face. It is not my face. I hope our little medium will recognize it. I can't make my face at present as I have to work. Sing. Do you see my lantern? I will show you the light when the gentleman comes. Dr. Hamilton, the other night when Jackson was here, did you speak for him? Walter, no, I did not. He can speak for himself. He is a very proud and independent man. He did not make friends with every Tom, Dick, and Harry. He came with his friend and companion Raymond. I could not bring him. He would not come with me. This is in reply to a question by one of the sitters as to whether we would know our friends in the spirit world. Walter said, through Mary, you are just the same over here as in the earth life. There are no kings or queens, dukes or duchesses in the spirit world. Remember, we are all equal. We must all progress in the same way. We are all brothers and sisters, united in one band. Your loved ones know you and me too when you cross the borderline, but you would not know them until you progress. There are no brothers and sisters of one family as on earth. We are all one large family. Your loved ones are waiting for you, but it will be a long time for you yet, a damned long time. Dr. Hamilton asked him some questions relative to the other side, and Walter replied. Walter through Mary, you want to be like devils, getting all knowledge at once. But he didn't know very much, and neither do you. The more you know, the less you know. You're like the boy who would never learn to say his alphabet. There are lessons to learn besides those in books. The world is the greatest school, books the best company. But you want to be ready with the glasses of observation. You learn only what you want to learn. There are preachers and popes here. I might have been a preacher, but there are too many already. You might be a monk. There are many here. Dr. Hamilton, what do you mean? That they are still trying to work under the same conditions as when they passed over, a sort of trance condition? Walter through Mary, yes, like a trance. They are still asleep. I know about your first controls. We each have our work to do. We are never tired. We do not have to rest from our labors because they are labors of love. There were many in this work before St. John. Our Master was the pioneer of pioneers, and if you follow in his footsteps, you will be all right. His teaching was peace. He said, "Blessed are the peacemakers." He only told the people of those days which we are striving for now, the peace that passeth all understanding. 50 years ago is not so long for even you to look back on. They did not fly then, they do today. 200 years ago, people would have died of fright at the things we do today. Dr. Hamilton, yes, the work is going ahead. Walter, it is going ahead and it will never stop. It has been going ahead from the beginning of the world. It is only now that people are beginning to study it. In a generation it will be quite common. Walter, he states that he will get a form of a face upside down as it fell. This is the Stead face of October 7, 1928. The form is falling. It is in a horizontal position in place of being upright. Miniature face form, the first. Likeness of W.T. Stead, said to be one of the main directors behind the Hamilton work. Stead manifestations began with Elizabeth in 1921 and continued at intervals into 1928 and beyond. Note, the Stead miniature is imperfect. It was caught by the cameras in the act of falling from what was supposed to be its original position over or near the medium's left eye. This partial failure was probably due to a delay in firing the flash because of a faulty electrical connection. In describing what would be found on the plates, Walter indicated that he was aware of this failure and he correctly described the phenomenon.